Welcome, wonderful ladies, to yet another rich, beneficial and inspiring conversation brought to you by Makeda Leadership. Doinita delves into an abstract world, inspired through her journey of being home for 16 years, in the deep blue ocean. Is the sea still home, however? Answering the studio audience's questions led to a supportive conversation every woman can reap benefits from. Remember to connect, collaborate, and join the Makeda community. We have lots to chat about. Details at the end. So I'd like to welcome you all to this Coming Home conversation today, where I'll be interviewing Doinita Ward with Guiomar Boel, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, and Romany as the studio audience. This is a series of conversations under a broad banner called Ordinary Women, Extraordinary Lives, to bring women together on various levels. One is that, first of all, all women are extraordinary, most especially the women who take part in these conversations, certainly to me, are particularly extraordinary. And that's why you've been invited to be here today. But the Ordinary Woman, Extraordinary Lives is that they are just really to celebrate women in the sense that not all women can be out there, going to be out there and being seen, and yet there's a certain sort of quality that the women who participate here have, where they're really leading ordinary lives in some ways. They're either ordinary women with extraordinary lives, or even extraordinary women with ordinary lives. It cuts both ways. I wanted to create something, and this particular series is called Coming Home, and was inspired, I'm not sure where the inspiration came from, but what I love about it is that it has both a very tangible and a very abstract quality to it. So the conversations can go deeper, even than perhaps the physical locations in which we've each lived. I always like to bring in, before we get started, something around the geography, so at least we have a little bit of an idea of, while we're across the globe, which regions we're sitting in. And today we've got Doinita, who I'll be interviewing. But Doinita is currently in Florida, and obviously we'll go into more details in the USA. Mer is from, if I've got it correctly, Ithaca in New York.
We say Ithaca, New York.
Ithaca, okay, excellent. Thank you for that.
And I do pronounce my name as Mer, as in, say, la mer, the French for the sea.
Ah, beautiful.
And it's short for Mary. So if you just think of you're chopping off Mary, that's how it's pronounced.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, thank you. And Romany, who is also currently living in, like myself, in Johannesburg, South Africa. And it's going to be very interesting, I think, when we get into our conversation also with Doinita, because she really adds a bit of a spin to to where home is in the world, and with all the places that she's been and lived and her experiences. I'm going to go ahead then and introduce you, Mer and Rome. I'll start with you, Romany. Romany and I have known each other probably not much longer than about a year and a half or so, I think, a year or 2 years. What stands out for me about Romany is that she introduced me to going camping as a woman without a man. So I had quite an extraordinary experience with Romany. It's probably a year ago, almost to the day now.
Was it before COVID, or when was it?
It was a year ago.
Okay, yeah, that was fantastic at Bass Lake. Yeah.
You have a long history in the world of, if I understand it correctly, geology and mining and that sort of thing, that kind of field. I think you've moved in, and then in the last couple of years, you've started studying to be a lawyer, to move into the legal sphere. So welcome, Romany.
Thanks, Gil.
And then, Mayor, you're quite a wild card for me, Mayor, because we've never had a conversation. And so we've never really effectively met, but we belong to a mutual writing community through some studies we did some years ago. And I know that you have, as do I, a passion for flowers and everything botanical. I'm very excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
And so I'd like to invite the two of you, just one at a time, to just give a little introduction of yourselves by way of answering just two simple questions. And the first one is, tell us a little bit just about where you're from. And then secondly, also just something about you that's interesting that we might like to know, that we might find interesting.
Oh, Mayor, please go ahead.
Okay. So I live in Ithaca. I grew up in upstate New York, and I have looked for a lot of different places to live, but the most important thing to me was a place where I could swim outside in the summertime. And I kept being directed towards Ithaca because we have so many state parks and ponds and creeks and just beautiful places to swim. So I'm counting the days till when the weather gets warm enough so I can again swim in these beautiful outdoor spaces. I do take photographs of flowers just about every day, but my main passion in life is music. I'm actually a composer. So I spend most of my time thinking about and composing pieces. Right at the moment, nobody is playing my pieces, but that's happened in the past. So that's something you probably didn't know about me.
Absolutely. I had no idea that that was your field and that was your artistry. So how wonderful to have you here. Even more delighted to welcome you. Thank you, Mayor.
I'm from Johannesburg. I have lived in quite a number of different places in South Africa. As Gio says, I've been in mining for quite a while. So I started my career on Western Deep Levels, one of the deepest mines in the world. Just a few years after women were first allowed underground in South Africa. We were only allowed to work underground from 95, and I started in 98. My hobbies include sailing, scuba diving, and I've just started rock climbing recently. So yeah, so that's a bit about me.
Oh, wonderful, Ro, and welcome. It's just such a delight
so
that you could join us as well. I'm thrilled about that. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Doinita. So I'll ask you, Mer and Ro, please to just switch off your video and mute. So Doinita, welcome, and you and I are actually in some ways very close. We've known each other quite a few years now through a training that we did some years ago, and then again also community that we belong to where we gather online once a month. So I'm delighted to have you here today.
Thank you for having me here.
I'm just going to give some background so that the audience can understand what your history is, because it's quite extraordinary. And then I'd like to move a little bit more into the deeper stuff where there's more feeling and emotion involved. To introduce you, I mean, your origins are from Moldova. I can't remember the Chisinau. Am I pronouncing it?
No.
Chisinau.
Chisinau.
Okay.
Chisinau.
Okay. In Moldova, in Eastern Europe, in the first instance, it's really significant that we have you here because having looked at the map, I see, and excuse my ignorance, but that you're actually bordering, your country of origin is bordering on the Ukraine, so it's a very apt that we're talking here today. You spoke to me of how you left home at quite an early age. Yeah, that you had felt the urge very young at about 21 to leave, and you went and worked on cruise lines for 21 years. If that's no, not 21 years. Sorry, not that long. I think
2 years, and then I moved on to yachts.
Okay, and then you were
luxury yachts.
in luxury yachts for more extended period.
For 16 years.
Okay, wow. Yeah, so that's an extended time. You've also spent some time living in China. You've lived in Cape Town in South Africa as well. Before going to Florida, you spent some years in California. And now you're in Florida, and you're again with a view to moving elsewhere, which I'll let you expand on. When I sat down a little earlier and I looked at all those points on the map of where you've been and your journey and just how extraordinary that is. I mean, it was really, really touching, also particularly when we enhance it with what has gone with all of that for you. So I'd like to welcome you and invite you to just give us a little bit around how that's been for you, this journey through so many places, in kind of maybe not known to you at the time, but perhaps an inner quest to find home.
Yes, thank you. I grew up since the childhood. The country was very closed, and since I was a child, I would always tell my family that as soon as I can, I'm gonna leave. As soon as I can, I'm not gonna. This is not my home. It was a very strong feeling. It was a very strong knowing to a child, And at the time, Moldova was a part of a Soviet Union, which was very closed. So, and of course, my family kind of smiled, laughed, and it's like, yeah, where are you gonna go? Because even the awareness of the people was quite very narrow because there was no way out. And as soon as I could, the opportunity came, and it was Carnival Cruise Lines. So when at 21, I was so excited. I had no idea what I was going to do, where I'm going to go. I just knew it's going to be work, but nothing mattered, when you're young, and it's just, you're finally free. So I thought, which in a way I was. And, I landed in Miami with $100 borrowed money in my pocket. But I was happy, and then the journey began. So it was very interesting because it was this inner drive, but it's an inner energy, like strive, like force in a way to keep going. And then, I was on Carnival Cruise Lines, and then I was like, okay, this is not working. It was amazing how when you don't actually think too much, you manifest quite fast and you move when you allow, right? Because then yachting came along, and it just, everything fell into place, and I just went into that, for 16 years. That's where I met my first husband, South African. We lived kind of in South Africa, camped up in Johannesburg. Went to China. That's where I met my current husband, also on yachts. But it was always this moving forward, like running, almost, it's like stability. I was all my life looking for stability, for home, for settling, right? And it feels like every time something would come along, it wasn't it. So it's the journey of my soul, I guess, right? Is that the energies of the planets, and then of course, as through my travels, I would turn another page and meet new people, and bring more awareness and bring more healing to my body, soul, heart, more understanding. That's how I found ayahuasca. That's how I found, Akashic records. That's like just the different modalities and tools, and all my friends and mentors, That's how I found my got familiar with the deities, the Tibetan Buddhism, all of it just came aligned with myself when I was ready.
So you're living quite an esoteric kind of world you've been drawn into. What is the significance of having, because you've spoken before of how you spent a lot of years on the sea, on the ocean. So no terra firma. From there, finally decided to, you say you and your second husband stayed on I think you said 16 hectares or acres, I'm not sure, in California.
15 acres.
And that was really the first time, not too many years ago, that you actually kind of settled on solid ground.
Yeah, that was end of 2016 when we retired from yachting career, and I had no idea how challenging it would be to live in a house. And
Oh yeah,
I didn't know how it was because I was, all my life, I never had space, starting from my childhood in a studio apartment with my mom, then into boating and yachting in a small cramped quarters. And yeah, I lived in China and such, and that was a bit of space, but it was different. It was like, especially in South Africa, we would go there on holiday. As people, we were the other way around. We'd go home on holiday and would go back to work and live there on a boat or whatever, whatnot. And till end of 2016, I never had space. And it was very uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do with myself. It's like suddenly I've got this space, and I felt the urge to pick up and run again. And instead, I ended up getting myself dogs and cats. Really ground myself
to help you ground. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. No more running. So the last how many years is that? 5-6 years has been very intense, transformational, deep waters, deep emotions, deep healing, just diving deep and still going.
And Doinita, you've spoken about how all the places, all your homes to now have been intense, and you reiterating that now. One of the big words that comes up, and it's so important, I think, in the times we're living, is the word trust. And you spoke of how, trust for you was broken. I know you had a very laborious birth, and there was something around trust that kind of needed to be rebuilt. Do you want to speak a little bit about your journey through that, which is just so relevant to the times we're living? Maybe it's the most important thing we're needing to find now.
Yeah, absolutely. The trust, without going into too many details, because I will need hours here. The trust has been, starting with my father and in the womb, the feeling of not being wanted. I have memories from when I was born, right? They come in visions, and there was a lot of break of trust. And then, the feeling of me being shutting down within the womb before I was even born. And then, being born and you're growing up. So you, as a child, you evolve and develop, and from the memories and from experiences now, it feels like every time I would try to open again, or I would open again to trust, to have another attempt, I got it, the lesson of something in my life would happen that trust would be broken again, or, as a child, where I didn't feel supported, I didn't feel taken care of. And it's like in my childhood and so forth, there was deep lack of trust in everything, in myself, even in the humanity. And so it's like always on my own, always on the go, always almost feeling unsafe in a way.
Does this in any way tie into where you were born, where you kind of chose to be born in this earth? I mean, you spoke a little bit about something that Russian, you speak Russian. I gathered that there's also some discomfort around that as well.
Yeah. It's interesting because if you think I shouldn't on this level, right? For nothing happened that I should be embarrassed with my heritage, right? Like because I had cousins growing up and they're different. And at the same time, me, you know, I was always embarrassed with my heritage. I was always embarrassed with my family, with my country of birth. And especially with the whole situation there, you know, I never wanted to be there almost from a young age, because seeing all the chaos and all the heavy energies, at the time I didn't know how sensitive I was. It just felt very intense. And given that, you know, the Russians, like being, yes, I learned Russian in school, but adult life, you know, I used to get triggered a lot. Even sometimes, you know, it was like, oh, are you Russian? And that is, for some reason, it's just still, you know, it was triggering me a lot, because it's like, no, I'm not. So it's just, there was something much deeper to it than the everyday and everyday people and everyday life, right? And to be, this is still, I'm still exploring that, put it this way.
I think there's something very profound, and as I say, it's no surprise maybe that you're going through the process you're going through, where the world is at right now.
Yeah, but at the same time, what I feel is a few years ago, it was much harder for me. And now with the war starting, with this situation, and because of all the growth that I'm doing and the healing that I'm constantly, you know, breathing in and out, I'm able to actually now hold different space. I'm grateful that I was born there, because it gave me, you know, I'm grateful for the depth and this capacity, you know, to hold so much space and energy and just go through all these layers of feelings and emotions and hurts, and, you know, from a very young age. So I can relay, so I can feel deeper.
Yeah, you spoke also of breaking through, and you've had, I know you said, some physical obstacles in recent months or whatever, where it was almost like banging your head against a brick wall. I'm saying that, you know, where it was like, when are you going to actually stop doing this? When are you actually going to move beyond, you know, your limitations and what's limiting you? What is it that has supported you and has got you to actually break through what was holding you back?
Deep esoteric trust and way and guidance.
I know
I've been studying astrology. I've been studying astrology for the last, I don't know, so many months. And recently I've been guided to explore astrocartography, which is the places, locations, and how the planets assist your home. And after having a series of falls and car accidents and such, I had this aha moment of like, okay, I'm manifesting this breaking through, these personal earthquakes. So that was this awakening for myself. I was like, oh, I want ease and grace. From now on, can we just please, you know, evolve and move through with ease and grace, breathe through all of this, allow life to flow through. It's not anymore hard, it's easy. And that's when I was guided to check. We're planning on moving anyway. I was guided to check Arizona.
And
it happens.
Moving. Yeah.
Yes. So I spoke to my husband, and this is good for him as well. And it feels really in alignment, even though I've never been there, just passing through, but it feels good. So we're moving to Arizona. Trust. You see, I was just practicing trusting. So finally, I feel like I'm welcoming ease and grace from now on. Beautiful.
Yeah, wonderful. I know you've also spoken about just the transformation. A lot of it has been centered around actually getting back into your body, because so many of us, and I know you've spoken of that, we're actually living outside of our bodies. We're actually not even in tune, and how important breathing and that kind of thing is. And so I'll close just by, you know, mentioning that I know you're you do a lot of different types of healing modalities, and you're supporting other people to really with the journey that you've had to take. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, coming back into the body, that's the home, really. Coming home into the body.
Yeah, a beautiful way to return. So on that note, I'd like to invite Romany and Mayor to come back.
That
So
was
you said it
beautiful
would
to hear.
Oh, sorry.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No,
You
go
go
for it,
ahead.
Matt. Yeah, no, it was great. Thank you so much, Doinita. You said that it would take hours to go through all the, it's all the pain and that. Have you sat down with psychologists and gone through your issues before?
Oh, yeah, it's not the hours
Yeah.
to go through the pain, it's hours to go to describe, to go through explaining, talking about it. Oh, yeah.
Do you openly discuss that with people nowadays, or is it just reserved
Oh,
for?
absolutely.
Do you? Okay, no, that's
Absolutely.
good.
That's what my practice, that's my practice, healing others.
Yeah.
I come from a place of openness, I relate to the clients, the people that come to me for the spiritual counseling and the healing and all, because we all as one, we're all connected, so we all heal together.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please go ahead, Matt.
Well, I totally forgot whatever my question was. But what a beautiful story. Oh, I know what it was. And beautiful to hear. I resonate very much with all parts of what you were talking about, really. Although my actual journey might on the surface look different, it seems like it's very similar. But I wonder if so you're talking about coming home, or the body being the home that you need to come back to, or learn to stay in your body. Do you think you identified more with just being a soul in your, yeah, okay. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Only like recent years, I'm realizing, I'm actually waking up deeper to how deeply esoteric I am, right? A soul, but how going into this higher mind and higher soul connection of and planetary. So I'm getting all these memories from my entire life when I didn't have this awareness, right? And it makes a lot of sense, like, oh, of my actions, or how I chose to move to sea and spend time in this bubble at sea, because it was the energies on the planet with the human, it was a bit too intense, too dense, and it was challenging for me at the time. Perhaps I wasn't ready to anchor that into my body, into myself, right? To actually hold that energy, to be able to process it. And now I feel that I am coming from, I'm better at mastering my own energy and the energies around me, so I can be of better service, right? Not just to myself, but to all that come to me, and just to the collective altogether, and all sentient beings.
That's beautiful.
It sounds as though some of this, as you said yourself, some of this resonates with you. Is there anything you want to contribute around that with regards to yourself?
Well, I feel like, I only recently figured out that, yes, I'm much more comfortable with the idea of being a soul. And my body's always been a very uncomfortable place to be. And I sort of, I only recently realized that, of course, not everyone is like this, but then I understood why I have such trouble being around people. So my bubble, isn't the ocean, although swimming in the water, that's pretty good. I had a lot of coping mechanisms, but so I'm actually still on the fence about how much do I want to really come back into my body. Yeah, I know I need to some. In order to stay on Earth having these experiences, I need to inhabit my body so that I can improve my health, basically, and the longevity of me here. But I sort of think that the most real existence is at a soul level. And so I don't want to let go. I don't want to let go of that either. So that's why I'm very interested to hear what Doinita was saying about, you know, being able to actually be of more service to other people by somehow being in your body, but still able to access.
And there's something perhaps around, maybe, I don't know, the word that's coming to mind for me is around integration, around, you know, integrating.
Yeah.
And liberation.
I'm
And
not
liberation.
a complete convert. Liberation? Okay, well, explain that.
That's what came to me recently about coming back. That's I get downloads all the time. So that was in order to fully be free, because you chose to be here. So in order to fully allow yourself to have the full experience of soul within the body of all this earthly, because the energies on the planet Earth are very dense. The soul, you know, it's different energy. The liberation is by allowing the soul to be in the body, to feel comfortable with the uncomfortable, to allow this soul contact with the light from within and to relax deeply into the body.
Thank you for that, and for how, you know, the words you used were kind of getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. And it just seems also very relevant nowadays that actually we can't afford to kind of just be comfortable. We've got to actually get uncomfortable, because that's the only way we can really progress.
I'd also really like the part about not, I guess I would interpret it as not fixing, not thinking you have to fix everything, right? Because that
There's
is part of,
to fix.
yeah, that mindset has been helping me lately. I don't think I can actually do it yet, shall we say, but I've been practicing.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Ro, how's this conversation resonating with you? Does anything here resonate, or what are you feeling?
I find I'm very distracted. I don't have time to, I don't know if it's not time, but because of external things such as my son and work and other things that are going on, I don't really have time to think about how I feel. You know, when you talk about connecting with yourself, that's not really a question that comes up, or that has come up with me for a number of years. I don't really have the time to think about connecting, because with myself, I have a son. He's shared between Dad and me. When he's not with me, I preoccupy myself with studies. And then when he's with me, it's relative chaos. You know, he's my total focus. So focusing on myself, or feeling that I need to connect with myself, is not something I'm conscious of.
And that being said, I think there are different ways of doing it, because Ro, I know you spend a lot of time outdoors, and when you've got time, you're out there in nature. So the way I know you, you're an incredibly grounded woman, and maybe it's just not something that's at the top of your awareness, but you actually are connecting all the time, because if you're out in nature a lot of the time, then you're doing it. I mean, and it's clear that you're grounded and centered.
Oh, thanks, Gil.
But it's beautiful, because you rock climbing, I'm doing gardening and all that. I connect. You connect to yourself this way. And even when you feel stressed, or you feel like you tense, or you feel like what I'm talking from personal, that's what's been helping me, because I was running away from connecting to myself. What I do is I just, even if you can just for 2 minutes, connect to your breath and bring it into the body. Breathe in slowly and breathe out even slower. So just doing that, connecting to the breath, you bring more awareness into the body, into your heart, into your awareness. And it's just, things will start shifting. That's how I started doing, slowly. There's nowhere to rush, nowhere to go, you know, just connect to the breath. Because even now I do that sometimes, because I'm like, it's uncomfortable.
I wonder, though, whether someone like Ro, who feels to me across this distance, someone who's very much in her body,
Mhm.
She's in her body. She's experiencing life through her body. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I think I am.
Experiencing it.
Yeah, yeah. When
So
you
that's
guys
the
started,
opposite of what I can do, you see. I
yeah,
can't do that. So you're already
yeah.
there.
Yeah, but is there a location that one wants to be? Because I mean, the way you guys are speaking about the soul, it sounds exciting to me. See, I don't have that. I don't know
Not
if I've
yet.
really ever experienced that.
No,
Yeah,
you have it. You're just not aware
You
of it.
have it.
I've got the
Yeah.
soul, but I don't have that feeling of separation. That I don't have. You know, I didn't tell you this, Gia, but my mom passed away on 28th December last year. And I am finding that, you know, when I'm on my own, I feel flooded currently. I suppose they're just normal emotions. I almost feel like an orphan. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but I suppose, you know, the connecting to the spiritual, well, maybe not the soul so much, but some sort of spiritual connection. I'm hoping. So it sounds very fractured now what I'm saying, but you know, these are just, as my mom having passed, it's that hope for the soul, sort of continuing, hoping that she's around. Does that make sense? So that's as far as my experience of soul goes currently. It's very fractured, as I say, but yeah, that's the situation I'm in.
I'm sure there's more to come. You know, I mean, I think I don't know that we're ever ultimately there, but we're all somewhere along that path. So
Yeah.
it's just a journey of exploration. But just to close out, perhaps with a short acknowledgement to Doinita, Mayor, Romany,
And you.
and myself.
Yes.
So
No, that was lovely, Doinita. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Gia, for hosting this.
Yes, I would say
Thank
the
you.
same.
Thank you,
a
ladies,
treat.
for being here.
yeah, fantastic. I just want to end off with some of your words, Doinita. Thank you so much for being here for us today, and just how you've spoken of how your home has been wherever you've gone, and been like a tortoise, you know, with that shell, kind of as your home. And how you know, Moldova, you never fitted. You always were an outsider where you were born, but that where the place that you've come to, just to acknowledge you also to the place that you've come, where you've come to the realization that home is where your heart is, and not necessarily a physical location, in spite of still looking for that physical location that you want to call home, which you've never felt you've had. And how you're finally opening your heart to yourself. And if you'd like to just have a last word before I make some closing remarks.
The interesting, as you're speaking, just I never fitted anywhere, even at sea, even anywhere. You know, groups of people, Moldova, even here in US, just very random. Like, you know, with physical, with work, I never felt like I belonged anywhere, even though I was there. So that was very uncomfortable till I started waking up to myself. So what Romany was saying, like, it's beautiful, you know, it's you being here with all of us in America, you know, Guiomar, this is, we're doing it, it's happening, you know, just coming into our hearts, connecting, you know, there's no accidents. One thing I learned, you know, and for the first time in my life, I feel excited about the unknown. And I'm okay with what's to come, you know. I'm okay not knowing what's to come, because and I'm choosing the moment, you know, the present. I'm here. This is my life right now with you, ladies.
Thank you, Doinita. I mean, I got tingles when you said that, because just as I say, coming the full circle to where we started this conversation, where you know, where the world is at now. I mean, if you've managed to come this full circle and find this hope and for a bright future, then hopefully the world can too. So thank you for the bright light that you are and for that you shine.
Thank you, Guiomar.
Yeah, so on that note, just want to invite you to say a final goodbye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Doinita. Thanks, Mel. Thanks, Gio.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you.